I can't see that.
Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knesset coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com. And today I am really excited to have with me Jorge Santos, who is running for town council in the 3rd Ward of the town of Kearney in the special election this year to fill out the 1 year left on this term. George is a business owner in the town of Kearney. He's lived here most of his life, if not his entire life. We'll get into that in a minute. And he has agreed to join me today so that he can talk about what his goals are for becoming the 3rd Ward councilman if he's fortunate enough to win. And he joins us today. George, good to see you, brother. Thank you for doing this.
How are you, Kevin?
Yeah, it's good to see you, man.
Same
Tell
here.
us, let everybody know. Most people know what you do, but let people know how you have been for so many years, going back to your dad owning the deli and to today, how your family has such a deep connection to the town of Kearney and how it's been so long that you've been doing this.
Well, when my grandfather arrived in the United States in '67, he settled temporarily in Belleville, right across the river. A few years later, '69, bring in my dad, followed by my grandma and the 2 sisters. And he was a baker at North Arlington Diner, right on the border of Kearney,
Yep.
and eventually rented an apartment near West Hudson Park. And he had gone to work for Dunkin' Donuts, learned how to make a donut, and decided to open up the Donut King, which is directly across from Imperial Restaurant. Now it's more of a Dominican takeout food spot.
Right.
And he opened that around 75 or so, give or take. And followed by a couple of years later, my dad had worked in the slaughterhouse industry and in Newark, and he opened up the butcher shop. My grandfather had actually bought 139 Kearney Avenue, and his intent was to move the donut shop onto his property. But he had such a good deal on the rent that he said, I'm just going to leave it. And he actually rented the store to my father, and the butcher shop started at 139.
Right.
And when Blimpies went out, my dad took the opportunity and bought that building and moved the store over there, made it a little bit bigger.
Right.
And, I'm just rooted in Kearney. I mean, when my parents had a home in Harrison, I only went there to sleep. All my friends were from Kearney.
Right. Yeah.
89, we bought a house on Park Place. I was 14 years old or so. Stayed there till I got married. Moved to Bergen Avenue. Stayed there for a year, saved up some money, bought a 2-family house in Harrison. But I only lived there for a handful of years until 18 years ago, buying my house on Morgan Place. And, my dad has moved away. My brother has moved away. And Kearney is still deep in my soul. I says I just can't give it up.
Right.
I says I just like it.
And then you and your brother got into business together, and you own several laundromats, right? Tell us how that happened.
Well, it's actually really funny how it started. It actually started on a bet, and my dad opened up one knowing nothing about it, and it did really well. That was 1988, 89. I won't get into the specifics, but somebody owed him rent. He asked him to leave. He left. And my dad just took a chance, and it worked out. And he liked it. 2 years later, he opened up 336 Kearney Avenue. You've been there.
Yep.
And he just liked it. And eventually, after opening up one more, he sold the butcher shop. And it's changed hands 2 or 3 times now. It's still there, still operating. And the writing was on the wall. I said, after he opened up a few more, and my brother bought a handful in Central Jersey, and this is pretty much what it is. It's what we're going to do to the very end. We're very well rooted in this thing.
And how many do you have now?
With my brother, we got 7 now.
7. Are they all in Kearney, or are there others that are in other towns too?
4 in Kearney, 1 in the Ironbound, and my brother has 2 in Central Jersey, Bound Brook, New Jersey.
One of the things
So,
I've always admired about you is what you and Danny do and don't necessarily brag about on a regular basis. And that is with the uniform exchange, it's donating for school supplies and things of that nature. And people need to know that. So, what made you and your brother decide to be so into being philanthropists where you give back to the community?
well, this community has given me and my family so much. And there comes a point where you have to say to yourself, what could I do? And what could I do that, I mean, it's really no impact on my life. And I'm helping so many people for so little. And what happened was I had a police officer, fine gentleman, reached out to me, and he had connected with another great town employee that we all know and love, and they were actually looking to get a discount to wash these uniforms. Um, should I mention names?
Is that Mina? You could mention names.
Sure. So Mina reached out, and he says, "Listen, my union and the firemen's union, they would like to you know pay for this and help this girl out because she's struggling doing this thing in her house,
Yeah,
and nobody should be doing that volume in the house machine. It just can't be done. It really can't."
yeah,
And I says, "All right, well, let's meet with her. Let's see what it entails, and let's see what we can come up with." But yeah, definitely, I think we could definitely do something here. And I privately went to talk to my brother, and he goes, "Yeah, sure, we'll do something." And we all met together, and it turns out it was probably going to work out to 3 or 4 times per year, large volumes.
right.
We banged that out in a couple hours, whereas Jenny was probably working around the clock 7 days a week
Right.
in her small house machine. And they says, "Well, what do you think you can do for us?" I says, "Well, me and my brother, we discussed it, and we would like to do this for free." And that's how that happened. So it's he's like, "Really?" And I says, "Well, listen, it's with our discussion, it was a handful of times a year, mostly before the school year. Um, I can do it at my convenience. So, during the week when things are a little quieter, people are at work. My employees are probably watching the soap opera. I now have something to keep them busy, and we're giving back to the less fortunate. And
Absolutely.
so, what did it really cost me?
Right.
What's the reality? Water, electric, sewer, whoopee,
Yeah.
whoopie do. Let's do something nice for the town. So that's how that came to be. And then with that, a couple other things come up, and whenever I can, I'll try to give something back.
Yeah. And you've been doing it for a long time now, and it shows too that it's a really great thing what you do, and people, I think
Oh,
people need to know that about you.
well, back in the old days, my grandfather with the donuts, you can't keep a donut for so long.
Right.
He used
Right.
to donate all the donuts to the church. Um, Even with the butcher shop, the FOP or the PBA would come around and they would ask for hamburgers for their barbecues. Why not?
Yeah.
It's not that pressing. It's not going to kill anyone to just say, "Hey, let's try and do something here."
Right.
You know.
Yep.
So
If you're just joining us, George Santos is with us. He's running for third ward councilman in the town of Kearney. He'll be squaring off on election day, less than 2 weeks from now, and he's looking to fill a seat that Carol Jean Doyle vacated when she became mayor. George, there's a lot of things that are going on in Kearney. You and I have had many discussions about it.
sure we have.
One of the biggest issues I know that irks you is parking. Let's talk about that a little bit. What's happening right now in Kearney that if George Santos is sitting on the council would be different than what we're seeing now?
So parking has a lot of different parts. Different areas of town are affected differently. Where I live, it's not terrible. Um, but there are areas that are really, really bad. We went to parking meetings, we attended parking meetings. It was discussed that we were short like 30,000 spots And being a business owner and having alarms go off in the middle of the night, I often have to run down Kearney Avenue at 2, 3 in the morning. And I said to myself, and I said this publicly at a meeting, I said, how could we possibly be 30,000 spots short if I don't see a single car going in circles at 1 in the morning looking for spots?
Right.
I says, we're not 30,000 short. I'm sure we could use 1,000 or two to alleviate the situation in the most dense areas. Uh, we definitely need to work to come up with parking lots on the southern parts of town and others. Um, um, I we definitely need to work on that.
What
Most
about the
recently, we
overnight
started.
though? The overnight parking was something that's affected you as a business
Oh,
owner, right?
it the heck out of me because they passed the commercial vehicle ordinance, and the commercial vehicle ordinance basically decided what was commercial based on length, height, number of tires. I mean, that's not that. Commercial is something that you do, and let me tell you, I did get one ticket. It was thrown out. The judge did a fabulous job, but let me tell you, if I have to go to court, I will smoke them because they have no rights to tell me what to drive. None. If I want to pick up with 4 tires because I think it's cool, this is still America. I can drive what I like. If I want to tow my boat, I want to be able to do so. You know, it's until they could show discovery that I provided a service that I made money with my vehicle, it's not commercial. An
So,
Uber
do you
car is
think
more commercial than.
if you get on the council, do you think that they really need to revisit this and change the ordinance as it stands right now for overnight commercial parking?
Well, I think changes have been made, whether we've been made aware or not. I see the enforcement to be lightened up. I'm not saying a real commercial vehicle should be parked on the street. Let's not get it twisted.
That's never
We
been your.
definitely had
No,
a
you've never said that.
never.
No, no.
We have a major problem. And most recently, I was made aware on one of the Carney pages that one or more people have figured out a way to show up at a certain time, and there's like a dozen commercial vans taking up the high school parking lot. I mean, really commercial, racks, ladders, everything. I was pretty blown away because those are spots that went to people in those immediate neighborhoods. So we need to come up with a better solution than just shifting the problem from one side to the other, because now those residents lost those spots. I mean, you
Yeah,
had to see it, Kevin. I don't know if you saw it, but
I didn't. No.
if, if there wasn't 10 or 12 vans with racks, ladders, livery, and whatever else, it was nothing. So, what we need a more of a common sense approach to when we write these ordinances. I think we're lacking in common sense a
Yeah.
little bit there.
So is that something
So
you'd like to maybe, let's say you win the election, you take office the next day, you would like to maybe be on the committee with the ordinances so that you could have some more input on something like this.
I would love to. I would love to be involved in anything that can directly help my residents, not just the third ward, because let's say I cast a vote on an ordinance. I'm affecting the town as a whole,
Right.
not just my side. So we have to really, really consider the town as a whole. No, it's not a one-sided thing, you know.
Let's go a little further on what you just said. You said when you make these decisions, you're going to affect the town as a whole. And you and I both know that what we see in the town council right now is almost unprecedented. At least it hasn't been this way in almost 30 years, where warring Democrats can't seem to get along. You're a Republican, although the party is not always a bigger issue in local elections. However, you're going to be, if you win, you will be one and the only Republican on the council. There will be 8 other Democrats, half of which can't get along with the other side. What does George Santos think of what's happening, first of all? And what will you do, or what will you attempt to do, to try to rectify the nonsense that happens on a daily basis with this council?
Well, it's very depressing to see what's going on. It's very depressing to see a Democrat go against a Democrat. I mean, they went against Carol Jean. They made her run off the line. Allegedly, Carol Jean made De Silva run off not off the line because there was no line, but it's just all kinds of games going on, and those games need to stop. Um, I want to be the guy that tries to bring these people together. You know, let's try to get things done. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Being a single fish is not. It's not an easy task, and I'm asking for 1 year. I have 1 year to try to make a difference, and then I'll have to do this all over again next year
Right.
to try to continue. It's not going to be an easy task.
Well,
I know that, but I
how
want
are
to
you
be.
going to do it though? Like, what could you possibly do? You have been somebody who has built bridges over the years with your businesses. You've pulled people together for projects, for donations. Well, how do you think you could affect that with the council?
Talk to them. Talk to all of them. Work with them. Say, listen, you're looking at things this way. You're looking at things this way. Well, what about this idea? Can we come to a common ground and do what's right for the town?
Do you think that's not happening now? Tough
The town.
question.
It is a tough question. It is so divided right now.
Right.
It is very divided. Um, you know, there's a part of me that's wondering. Next year we're going to have 3 or 4 Democrats coming up for reelection. Are we going to kick them to the curb? And are we going to select 3 random people to run on the line with whoever else may be on the line? That's not the way to do it. You know, uh,
No, there's probably going to be multiple primaries in 2025, and if it's not rectified by then, 2026 again. So you may actually see 10 Democrats running, because don't forget there's 4 council seats and there's a mayor seat, and then if you win, who knows what will happen there either. You never know, and there could always be an independent candidate. So where this goes and what happens in the next couple of months will probably weigh squarely a lot on your shoulders if you win. And that's a lot to ask of somebody who's number one new and who didn't ask for any of this, right? So, like, what? It's got to be kind of like confounding when you think about all of the things that are going on.
I say that again, Kevin.
It's
I
hard
got
to.
sitting.
You see all this happening. I mean, I mean, it cannot. It's not going to be an easy task if you win. So, like,
No.
well, why? You're making a decision now to run, and if you win, why? Why would you want to be a part of this where everybody seems to hate each
Well,
other and not get along?
so it goes back to what I said earlier. I really don't need this job. I I don't need the headaches, but I love my town, and I want to do this for my town. I want to do this for my community. I want to bring a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of ears, a fresh set of opinions to try and make a difference. And let me tell you why is a really crazy question. I even got that from some of my closest families.
Yeah.
Why do this? It's it's borderline crazy to try to do this, but somebody needs to do it.
Right.
And I've always believed in a government run by the people for the people. I'm not your polished career politician. I don't need to do this for forever. Uh, I just want to do my part for my town. That's it. I you know, that's really what it comes down to. It's politics has gotten very crazy. It has gotten to the point where people are willing to kill someone figuratively, not literally.
Well, sometimes
Do
literally.
anything. I mean, it's gotten to a point where to hold on to that power, I mean, people will go to any length. I mean, and that's just a terrible way to be.
It is.
It's like, I mean, what? That's not what our founding forefathers had in mind. You were supposed to come in, you're supposed to do your thing for us, a term or two, or maybe three, even depending on the situation and the office, and go on and run your life,
Right.
and let the next guy do it.
Right.
And
The first person to ever do that was
30,
George
40,
Washington.
50, and with no guidance, he did 2 terms and gone.
Yeah.
On to the next. I mean, and that's what makes this country what it is. You know, we need to, you know, you know, career politicians. It's not good.
No.
Our founding fathers were running away from a monarchy. I mean, they knew what could happen with a one-sided rule, and we need that balance. And I'm hoping to bring some balance to the town.
Good.
You know,
If you're just joining us, George Santos is with us today. George, as a Republican, you are in the middle of one of the biggest Democratic bastions in the country in Hudson County. And recently, a new county executive took over, and Craig Guy. Craig has done a lot of things in Kearney, where he has brought services to the town 3 days a week. He's made visits here, went to the senior center, and things like that. And I know that your campaign manager, Sidney Ferreira, who has run for mayor before, has never been fond of the Hudson County Democratic Organization, even when he was a Democrat. So, my question to you is this: as a Republican and as somebody who is in the middle of all of this, how do you think you'll be able to work with people like Craig Guy, the Hudson County executive, and the Hudson County Democratic Organization, when, in general terms, they're sort of like the great opposition here?
well, back to what we said earlier. I'm one guy. I'm one out of nine, and Craig Guy isn't going to be doing anything for me specific. I need to work with the rest of the people in unison to reach the common goal. Um, Craig Guy isn't going to not do something for Kearney because of one Republican. It's just not. That would be detrimental to him.
Right.
It's we need to do what's right for Kearney.
But could you
And
see
and,
yourself
and
calling Craig and saying, "Listen, dude, we need this. Can you help us? Would you be willing to do that?"
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I want to be a bipartisan candidate, and calling Craig Guy. That's if I oust the Democrats, why bother? What am I going to get done?
Right.
There's not going to be anything to do.
Right.
I have to work. I have to bring them all together. Again, it's not going to be an easy feat, but I will try.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about Hudson County politics, I mean, you look at the money that we send to Hudson County. I'm wondering sometimes if we get a fair share of what we pay for. So it's maybe we need to petition to get more out of them. We need to get more value for the dollar that we're paying.
Speaking of that, there's a lot of open space in the third ward, and the Raps Boatyard comes to mind. Skinner Brothers property comes to mind, and a lot of that's being redeveloped right now, and that's smack in the middle of the third ward where you're going to represent if you win the election. Do you like what you're seeing there? And if you do or don't, what would you perhaps do differently than what's being done right now with that property?
Well, starting with the Vincent Marina all the way to the Pike, there is really, Raps Boatyard might have been the last private residence. Matter of fact, I think it was the last privately owned residence or marina per se. It's basically being turned into parks, and that's conforming to what we've been doing for decades, and I think that's quite all right. I mean, if you're in a more dense area, which I don't think that those areas would benefit from a parking lot, I would like to see some more parking, but it has to be necessary. As far as the rest of that, there's one thing that does come to mind all of a sudden. We built a nice dog park, and I have dogs. I have a few dogs.
Yes, you do.
And you know what's crazy? I can't utilize that park.
Why is that?
There's no regular parking. There's only 2 handicapped spots. Think about it. We made a park. We've made two lonely parking spots. They're both, or were both, last I looked, they were both marked handicap. And I'm not saying anything against handicap because, not for nothing, my mother is attached to a walker
Right.
after strokes and back surgeries and all kinds of problems.
God bless her.
And and my parents do have a handicap placard, not for reserved parking, but when they go to the stores and whatnot, you know. But you know, with all that open space, why can't we have 10 or 15, regular parking spots? I mean, it's a little bit of blacktop. It's not, doesn't have to be $1 million. How many times do we go down River Road and you're lucky to see two or three dogs down there? It's literally for anyone with a handicap placard or anyone that can walk there.
So if you
I
win, would
mean,
that be
I
something
can't
you'd
say
like to
I
address?
can't say that. What's that?
If you win, would that be something you would address and try to fix?
If I could do it, I could definitely propose it. I don't think a single council member would oppose that. I think it was an oversight, or as I said earlier, lack of common sense. I mean, we're all taxpayers, not just the handicapped, not just the strong and healthy.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing to have. North Arlington had one first, and I went there, and my dogs like to run like any other dog, and I was like, I can't park here, and I can't say I had this thought in mind. I didn't know what your questions were going to be, but we were talking about that green space, and I says, that's something that we could definitely address that could help the community. Again, not just the third ward.
Right.
You know, why can't someone from the first ward bring their dogs and let them run off and blow some steam off, and this way they can just go home and chill out.
Right. And they shouldn't have to walk to
So
get there.
this is true.
Right.
This is true.
Okay.
So
You brought up the green space. So we're talking about. Let's just briefly touch on the Essex Hudson Greenway that they've been talking about. Eventually, when this is done, it's going to connect to Newark. But the first stage that they're going to build in Kearney will not connect to Newark. Do you think it will be a problem if it does indeed connect to Newark at some point, which is part of the plan? And would you recommend maybe not connecting it to Newark? Or do you think the way they have proposed it might be the right way to go?
well, the way it's proposed, it's basically going to be a highway from Jersey City, I think, all the way up to Montclair. Is it?
Montclair,
I forget.
correct. Yeah.
Um, whenever you make a super highway, whether it be on foot, car, whatever the case may be, you're going to introduce problems. You know, um, even if it stayed as even if, let's just say, I personally would have liked to see a train come back to Kearney. I think that would have been far more valuable.
Yep.
Um, I don't think a councilman with a 1 year term is going to make much change on that. That's just an opinion. Um, uh, but anytime you make something that connects a long distance, even a train, you might invite some problems.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it could happen.
They
So,
were
it,
saying when they were planning this that they were going to put a police substation in Newark, but not in Kearney. Should there be a police substation maybe in Kearney, do you think?
I would prefer it in Kearney.
Yeah.
I would prefer for our boys to police our town.
Right.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to depend on someone else.
No.
I think our boys can do a better job.
If you're just joining us, George Santos is with us today. He, of course, is running for 3rd Ward Councilman in the town of Kearney. That's the special election. It's a 1 year term. So if he wins, he's going to have to do this all over again next year. And, George, like when you see some of these debates that you see on TV at the very end, they ask you to kind of give a closing statement. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. And if you could, I'd like you to kind of speak to the residents of the 3rd Ward who may be watching this. What would you like to say to them, maybe almost as a closing pitch for your candidacy to become the councilman?
Um, well, I'm asking for your vote, not just Republicans. I'm asking for votes from Democrats, independents, Republicans. Without all your support, I will not be able to help anybody. Um, I am just a regular guy. I'm not a polished politician. I don't have a big political force behind me. I don't have a big political funding from anyone behind me. Um, I want to be the guy that's going to bring everyone together and try to make change for our town. Um, I've been very vocal on a lot of different issues in town.
Mm.
Uh, some bother me more than others, and I would like to. I would like a chance, a 1 year chance to show that something different could be possible.
One last question. You win,
Fire
you're
away.
running for re-election, right?
I would like to.
Right.
If I win, I would like a chance for a full 4 years. I, you know, I want to add something else that wasn't really a question.
Please do.
We've asked for a debate with my opponents. I'd even welcome Renato. I mean, I've grown very fond of Renato. Uh, he cast a vote that is going to affect families in Kearney for decades, and people don't even know it.
Tell
And
us
that
about it.
was a vote against the Russo development. Well, the Russo development. That was one of the Russo developments. It's not even the developments because I'm not completely against them. I'm against the pilots and the discounts
Right.
that this man is receiving because every dollar he doesn't pay, every single one of us, one way or another, is going to pay. And that no vote from De Silva is going to save people thousands over decades, and the common person doesn't even realize that. Um, you know, I would have loved to. This really isn't that difficult. It's right now we're two guys having a conversation. That's all it is. Why couldn't it be three or four guys having a conversation? That's all it is. It's really not that big a deal. And after all this time, I personally had a conversation with Fred Esteves before the primary, and I kind of got an inclination of what he was thinking, but I would have liked to have him sit down with us, answer the same questions. I would have liked to see him, get up at a meeting, voice his opinion on the Juan Barroso situation. Um, just where do you stand? What can I expect from you? You know, um, it's you know, the town attorney said the town council was to be quiet. I understand that, but Fred Esteves is not on the council. He's very much so a resident just like me right now.
Right.
And there was nothing stopping him from going up there and saying, guys, let's end this thing. Let's put this man back to work. He just had another baby, or he had a baby on the way, depending on the timeline. And let's do something. Just give us a feeling of the type of person you are. I think are we just going to have? Are we going to elect someone? Question what is going on? Are we going to elect someone that is just going to be a yes vote? Uh, you know, we need someone to ask why. Uh, think about reason. How will it affect everyone else? We just can't be yes votes. We have to. How will this affect everybody? How will it affect people 10 years down the road? You know, we need someone with a different approach, and that's what I haven't seen uh, from Fred. Um, I definitely know where De Silva stands, and and like I said, we've become friends over time, and and I would like I'd like that opportunity to try to be a voice of reason, a voice to unify the the council and work with everybody in any way that I can. And I just I don't know. I never thought, if you had asked me 5 years ago if I would do this, I would have thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
I you know it's listen. I'm asking all voters in town to give me a chance to do something different. My phone number is very public. I'm a person that will take a personal phone will take a phone call almost anytime. Um, if I don't do the right job, kick me out next year. I'll leave quietly.
Yeah. That's
It's
it.
not. This is not a career for me. This is not something that I have to do. This is something that I want to do from the bottom of my heart. And you know what? This might be a little out there, but recently I put up a post online about something that was going on, and it was about the yield to pedestrian traffic stop, and it was something along the lines of, you know, people, you might want to obey the law, you might want to
Right.
stop,
You've been warned.
you know, yeah, something like that. Maybe I didn't use the right words because a lot of times when I do and say things, I like to be funny. You know, PSA. Who needs to say PSA? But I find a little bit of comedy in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And and I was accused of doing it for political gain,
Oh
and
God.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow. I says, I don't need gain. And you know what? I have thought about this for quite some time, and I'm going to do this on the Observer Live. If I win, the salary that comes with this is nominal at best.
Right.
To show people that I don't want political gain, I don't want a career, I don't want to. I just want to be someone different that gives back to the community. I am going to do something that I haven't told. I don't even think I told Sid yet. I don't. I've been very quiet about it, but if I win, I will donate my entire salary to a few good causes in town.
That's
I
nice.
have a
That's
couple in
very
mind.
nice. Yeah.
It's just it's only like 6 grand.
Right. You're not making
Six.
anybody rich, but you're still not taking it.
I'm not going to take it. I have a couple organizations that I love. Some of them, and I'm not going to go all one-sided, but maybe I'll pick a few others, 2 or 3 different things, and a little bit of money goes a long way to to somebody who's trying to raise funds for for whatever it is that they need. I think you know I've just come to a point where I just want to give back. It's never
That's
been
right.
about me anymore.
That's right. You just heard it here first. George Santos, when if he wins, will donate his salary to some charitable causes. Election day is November 5th. Polls are open from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m., where you'll be able to go out and vote for either George or the other candidates who are on the ballot or not on the ballot. George, thank you for taking the time to do this today. Wish you the best of luck, and we hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.